Here.
Ms. Reich, Mr. Wilbur,
Here.
Councilman Hellinger,
Here.
Vice Chairwoman Wright,
Here.
Chairman Olin.
Here.
I move to excuse Mr. Carey and Ms. Reich. Second.
Ms. Brewster,
Yes.
Mr. Buck,
Yes.
Mr. Glissman,
Yes.
Mr. Wilbur,
Yes.
Councilman Hellinger,
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Wright,
Yes.
Chairman Olin.
Yes. Okay, next on the agenda is the approval of the motion summary for the meeting held March 22nd, 2016, as recorded and transcribed. Can we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a question about something. On the second page of that, under where it discusses our, Arbor Day tree planting ceremony, was the vote really 8-2? 2 people voting no?
I was kind of wondering about that too, but then I just glossed over it.
I don't think we've ever.
I don't think we've ever had two, unless 2 people abstain, or we're not.
Well, I wasn't here, I know that for
That
No,
wouldn't be-
it may have been written, it may have just been a typo. It should be 8-0, I can fix that.
Yeah, okay.
Well, an earlier motion from that same meeting, I said 8-0. So if there was, the next motion, or the next vote was 8-2, and we gained 2 people too. So I'm guessing it should be 8-0.
I'm thinking where the key is.
Oh.
I put the wrong one. So I can amend that if
Okay.
you want to just vote for an amended minute.
Yeah, let's do that. Thank you.
Yeah, I move that we approve the minutes of March 22nd as amended.
My second.
Okay, can we have a vote then?
Ms. Brewster,
Yes.
Mr. Buck,
Yes.
Mr. Glissman,
Yes.
Mr. Wilbur,
Yes.
Councilman Hellinger,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Wright,
Yes.
Chairman Olin.
Yes. Okay, great. Now it's time for, some of us have met Ted already. And now it's time for our new Director of Parks and Natural Resources to come on up and say hello and maybe answer questions or just,
Again, I've met some of you already, and again, my name is Ted Miller. I'm start next Wednesday. I'm with Preservation Parks now. I've been there for 12 years. Before that, I spent 8 years at Stoltz and Associates. It used to be Floyd Brown, or it used to be Stoltz, and it was Floyd Brown here in Delaware. So I'm familiar with Delaware. I'm meeting with a lot of staff these last few weeks. I'm kind of hopefully hit the ground running really well next week when we start in on Wednesday. So, with this board, some of the things I've heard is the invasive species. Getting a plan to look at that. So that's on the list to work with you and the staff to address that issue if we can, and anything else that that may come up too. So I'm definitely looking forward to working with this board and accomplishing great things here. If there's any questions, I'd love to answer any.
yeah, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
First, I'd like to thank you for your interest in alien invasive species. I think that's an important issue that isn't recognized much in the general public, but also just something that that Tom touched on last night about the choice of trees for downtown Delaware. And Doug, if you have any feedback on this too, they were concerned about the mess that the fruits are making downtown, and I just kind of at the time I thought that there's a lot more to consider when choosing a tree. Not a lot of tree species can do well in an urban environment like that to begin with. Crabs do generally, and there's a lot of things that they do right. Like their size and their form and the flowers everybody loves, and et cetera. So I don't know, do you think we should put that on an agenda for next?
Doug's got some information.
Doug, you got that?
Stacy's spoken with
Francis Hamilton.
Francis Hamilton with downtown, with Main Street Delaware.
Okay.
About trees that the merchants want to see, and since we started the program of replacing the crab apples that failed with imperial honey locust, that's
Is that
the way
what
they
they-
want to go.
Okay.
So that's what we're gonna use downtown now,
Okay. All
as we
right.
replace trees.
Okay,
We're not gonna go wholesale cut down trees and replace them,
right.
but as they fail, we'll start replacing them with honey locust.
Makes sense. Okay, that takes
Um,
care of that then.
Yeah, it's
But
smaller.
it would be sort of a long, gradual process. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Over time.
Yeah.
And is that acceptable to Main Street Delaware? And this could be 10 years, 20 years. Crab apples have a fairly long life expectancy.
Well, Tom, I'll tell you that probably, you go downtown and you'll have 50% of the people say they love the crab apples and they have no problem with it, and 50% say they don't. So I believe Main Street Delaware is fine with the solution that we're providing right now. Unless that changes, that's the course of action we're going to follow, unless someone can come up financially with some extra money for if they wanted to change all those trees out. So,
Mhm.
and I would say that would probably fall upon Main Street Delaware if they don't want to wait for the change to come naturally.
I think
Yeah,
that would
I-
be very poor public relations to go around and just chop them off because we don't like
Oh,
them
yeah.
and replace them. I hope they don't choose to do that.
Mhm. Right.
I completely.
I wasn't around the last time the trees were planted. I don't think anyone was on this board when the last round, when they were replaced last
Yeah.
time, so I'm not really familiar with how that was done. I don't know if Linda was here then,
I was.
so.
Well, and I remember the last time we touched on this just a little bit, it was after last year's First Friday event in May, and some guy came up and started giving us a hard time about the crab apple fruits on the pavement. And I believe you mentioned that weren't city crews dispatched to help clean some of those up?
Not that I recall.
Oh, okay. Okay, I thought I heard that, but I wasn't sure. I didn't want to bring that up last night without checking with you
There was a
first.
lot of, I think back when the streetscape project was done and the new trees were put in, there was probably a lot of discussion, and over time, the makeup of Main Street has changed. And back then, that was probably the tree that was chosen by the city as well as people that were involved with the downtown businesses. And now, you've got the other faction that doesn't like the fruit and stuff, so.
I think
okay.
one of their complaints when they first came to the board, and this definitely goes back before you were on,
Yeah,
maybe Tom was around, but the Main Street wasn't consulted. I mean, there wasn't, if whatever discussion this group might have had.
To be honest, I don't even think Main Street was an organization.
You're right.
When
You're
streets
probably
took
right.
place.
You're probably,
So it may
Oh,
have been that
yeah.
it was just
Okay.
a city
yeah,
decision.
city, and maybe
Oh.
they asked the Shade Tree Commission, and they said.
that explains a lot. Yeah. Okay. Okay, well, that was just one thing that came up a little bit last night at city council meeting. And then Ted, what do you see as your priorities, or what have you heard of since you've been meeting people and so forth as the top 3 or 4 priorities for your job? What do you see as important?
A lot of it is going to be planning, getting some planning documents in place to set some goals for the department so that we can move in a direction that, meets a lot of these needs that are out there. As far as specifically targeting any projects, I will bring some back next time I meet here because I'm still collecting a lot of
Yeah,
information.
Okay.
But yeah, and that's one of the things I want to do is kind of target what are our priorities, but,
Okay.
jumping into it right now, the bike plan is probably going to be the top priority, just to get that finalized and make sure we have a good action plan coming out of that so we can move forward on that. Because that's kind of in the works right now and it's ready to be finalized. So that is going to be probably the top priority next week to try to get that finalized.
Okay, then do we look at that, would we be reviewing the plan for that?
I would,
It's a citywide master plan.
Yeah.
So it's just where bike trails are going to go in and connectivity throughout the
Oh,
whole city.
There's
So
no plants going on it yet, just the
No, there's no
route?
plans on it. As specific trail segments go in, there might be.
Okay.
Look at some street trees in there, but for now, it's just a master plan for the city.
Oh, okay. All right, sounds good.
And I know Park Advisory Board is reviewing that now. That was presented last week.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So this is fairly new position in the city, right?
It's a new position. It was Darren Hurley had the position about 2 years ago.
Oh, okay, so it's not that long.
Yeah. So and I've talked to Darren in the past month. So he had the position about 2 years ago, and so he was the last person to fill this position.
So are there other commissions that will be in your realm other than the tree commission,
Just the Park Advisory.
park advisory?
Yeah. And some of the other commissions I am involved with is COG. It's the Central Ohio Greenways Committee. It's administered through MORPC. It's a regional bike kind of more greenways, but it mainly looks at some of the larger trails. And I'll probably, my involvement in that will continue because keeping Delaware involved in that regional plan is, I think, something important for the city. So that's another organization that I think it's just in its infancy right now. We've only been formed for about a year, but that'll be another organization I'll continue on, and hopefully, and one of the goals out of that is the Olentangy River Trail, getting that up to Delaware.
Anyone else have questions for Ted? Well, thanks for stopping
All
by.
right, you'll see a lot of me. I'll be here.
Sounds great. All
So,
right.
Thank you, and always open to any questions. So.
All right, thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot for stopping by.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Okay, then, item number 4 is public comments. And we have a member of the public here tonight. Thank you for stopping by. Well, if you could please come on up to the table and take advantage of the microphone, and Elaine will need your name and, do you already have her?
I will, but you'll need to please state it into the microphone for the record.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for allowing me this opportunity to talk to you. My name is Raina Patton, and I have lived in Delaware more than 50 years. In the past 3 years, we have lived very close to Delaware Run, and in all those 50 years, I had no idea what a resource we have in that small fragment of natural habitat. And I say natural, understanding that it's not totally natural, but as a wildlife corridor and as a sanctuary for diverse species. My remarks tonight have to do with a proposed road connector between Valleyside Drive and Lexington Boulevard. In the 3 years that we have lived very close to Houck Road, I myself have traveled the road repeatedly. I've come to the Y, I've gone to Kroger's, I've gone to the hospital. In other words, I travel that area extensively, and I have never noticed congestion on Houck Road. I understand William Street is very crowded. I understand at times Central Avenue is very crowded, but in my estimation, it has nothing to do with the connectivity between Central and William. However, I am also aware that the proposed road, which you can all see, which would be a half a mile east of Hawk Road, would blaze a trail, the width of Hawk Road, through one of the last patches of undisturbed forest in that Delaware Run area. Hundreds of mature trees would be removed to build that road. And the connection for all of the species that live in this area and this area would be broken. The diversity of the run cannot be imagined, but it can be studied. And we're very fortunate that Dr. Jed Burt, who unfortunately is not able to be here tonight, spent years with his students studying that diversity. And I have here a report he wrote based on years of scientific data and collection and analysis of not only the number of bird species in the area, but a comparison between the number of bird species in the Delaware Run area compared to the suburban and urban area of Delaware. Now, as members of the Shade Commission, you've done a wonderful job getting trees into the city, although I will say I'm not terribly keen on Bradford pears, but Jed's research has shown that the diversity of birds, the populations of birds in our suburban areas with all of those trees does not begin to compare to the diversity in the run. And that's because this is relatively undisturbed. There is understory, and I'm sure you will all agree a lot of it is not native, but there are many, many native trees there, mature trees, and they provide habitat of all kinds. I mean, we have milkweed growing in the run. We have 32 species of butterflies have been identified recently in the run, and Jed and his students have identified 141 species of birds, which either all of the time or part of the time make the run their home. If we blaze another major road through that area, especially this particular area of forestation, but it doesn't matter which area you choose, because really so much of it is cut up anyway, but this area is so crucial, that diversity will be reduced, significantly reduced. The birds will go away, or they will die. They cannot live in the kind of disturbed environment that is part of a normal, progressive town with all of the development that includes it. So I'd like to say to people who care about trees that this is something that I think that you should look at very hard and say to yourself, what on earth is the advantage of building a road there? It's a half a mile east of Hawk Road. And I'm here to tell you, Hawk Road is not a problem. Lexington Boulevard is not a problem. As far as I can see, there's no real reason to build that road. It's something else to maintain, and the environmental cost is huge. It has a detrimental effect on property values for people in the area. For example, the area here, Chatham Lane, would be affected, and properties along here, which are close to it, would be affected adversely. But mainly, it would be something that we cannot replace. It's something that's really rather unique in this town. We have a wildlife corridor, and we can easily destroy it. So I have my thoughts noted here, and I'll give them to you. I have this report from Jed, and if any of you are interested, we will have to make sure you get a copy. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if I can.
I have a question, and I don't know if you can answer it, but what was deemed to be the advantage of this road, this new road, over just a widening of
I
Howard?
can answer that. So moving Delaware forward and part of the Valley Side Drive, the major advantage of that is it reduces emergency response time by over a minute to a population of approximately 5,000 people from Willowbrook all the way down through the allotment there just south of that on the other side of William. It's a major emergency response initiative.
That's the primary reason?
That's the primary reason. It also reduces congestion and will continue to reduce
There wasn't
congestion.
any thought to the potential commercial development along there?
No, the commercial development has already been done. The rest of the land, all the land that would be disturbed is already owned by
What's
the
it
city.
zoned? What's it zoned then?
It doesn't matter, it's owned by the city. It's not going to get, there's everything that's there where that road would go is either already dedicated as road all the way back to where the old Elks is. And then from there, all the way over to Central is all owned by the city. They own the 2 brick condos, right, that would be demolished as part of that. City bought that about 10 years ago. And then the Delaware Run, all that, that's all city-owned property.
Mr. Hellinger, I'm aware of the fact that the city owns that land.
Yes.
On the other hand, as someone who lives in Willowbrook, remember couple of years ago, that fire station and emergency station wasn't even built.
That's true.
And we never noticed any delay in getting emergency services.
Absolutely.
I don't think 1 minute is going to make $5 million worth of difference.
I don't know.
It's my
I guess
personal
it
feeling.
depends on it if it's your life that ends as a result of having delayed response.
You know, it could be my life because I'm old, but
Yeah.
I'm not.
That could be any of our lives.
But I'm not worried about it, but I am worried about a resource which we cannot replace.
I understand. And the concern that has been placed on that by you and others has led that as that design goes forward, if it goes forward, if this levy is passed and it does go forward, is there will be considerations made to minimize that impact. There will be impact, obviously, but
Well,
you're also in the middle of the city.
I'm
So-
going to talk to Tom tomorrow, actually. I believe he's talking about culverts. Well, you know, you can let some raccoons through, but look at Hawk Road and see what kind of a biological barrier that is.
Yeah.
There's no getting over it. If you do that, you have just truncated what is really our only wildlife corridor. And that's the lungs of the city as well as anything else.
Mhm. I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I don't disagree as I've seen deer hit on Houck Road.
That's
So,
exactly right.
but I've been told that road will be elevated. If you call it a culvert or whatever, it will be big enough for wildlife to get underneath it, including deer.
It's not going to help all the birds that nest in those woods, but,
Yeah.
well, listen.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
Whoever knows the answer. Isn't it the fact that the hospital has been talking about relocating for years?
Yes.
So I don't know what their current plans are, but it may be around for 1 more year or 5 more years, I have no idea. But wouldn't that have an impact on the construction plans possibly?
No.
No?
No, because what we're talking about being able to get EMS vehicles from Station 303, which is right there at Lexington and Central, down to William Street,
Okay.
down to Willowbrook and what have
So
you.
it's the fire station, not the hospital.
Yes, yeah, it's not necessarily the return, it's
Okay.
getting services to the people is the big thing. And Ohio Health has not given us any indication they plan to do anything in the foreseeable future.
What about an additional station to provide those services on the other side of Delaware Run? How much would that cost versus this?
Millions and millions and millions of dollars. So
Well,
right now
versus
we have,
5 million for this.
it's not 5 million, it's about 2 million. But,
Oh, okay.
but we are already putting Station 304 in down off Cheshire. That's our next station. And that will actually, ground should be turned this year for that.
Mhm. See, I'm all for minimizing response time, definitely. But I'm wondering if there's other ways we can minimize response time rather than destroying part of, because basically in the long run, what future generations are going to think of as special about Delaware is the fact if this area is conserved, that will be what people consider special about Delaware, not the fact that there's a zillion, developments around. And I mean, it seems to me there's going to have to be more stations built on the other side of the run anyway.
So there's no plan to do that. And
Well, that's
and-
why I'm wondering, maybe there's some other ways to minimize these response times. That's all.
There could be. I know that Chief Donahue does extensive planning as we came up with where we planted 303, which is also why we bought those duplexes over 10 years ago.
Mhm.
This road's been planned for well beyond that period of time.
Right. Well, I guess my point is that it's much easier to produce an EMS station somewhere than it is to produce an undisturbed forested stream corridor. That's my point.
Yeah. Yep. Point made.
Well, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. And we'll see how this all works out. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming by.
Ms. Patton, did you want me to take a copy of that report for the record, or are you going to just discuss that with Mr. Homan tomorrow?
I can certainly.
Does anybody want?
I can print out another copy. If anybody would like a copy, I can email it to them.
I'd like to have an email copy.
Yes, I would too, please.
Here, I'll give you my card. And you can email it to me and I can get it to all of them.
Mhm.
I'll put this in so it goes into the.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Next is number 5 on the agenda, discussion of 2016 Arbor Day activities. And I guess, Linda, Susan, you're probably the most qualified to begin this discussion.
I think we have Saturday pretty well organized and mostly manned, staffed. The event runs from 9:30 to 11:30 with the tree planting at 10. I'm assuming Doug will show up with the tree and with the shovel. Is that? I haven't covered that part yet.
The tree actually will be in the ground already.
Okay.
It's going to be in
It's a
the,
ceremonial thing.
yeah, it's going to be in the, well, it'll be planted, but there'll still be the watering state like we did last year,
Okay.
I think. And then it's going to be at the YMCA in the lawn area between the new parking lot on the north side that they built and the dumpster area. And that wall, in front of that wall, they're going to be putting a new sidewalk across there. It's going to connect the building and it'll be to the east of that sidewalk.
Okay. We have a booth or a table during the Healthy Kids Day in the gymnasium. And I emailed out sort of a schedule of work, and I heard from some of you, but not everyone. I could use another person at the latter half of the morning. I think the early part is covered.
I plan to be here.
I got your name down, so,
Count me in.
sorry.
Count me in,
Okay.
yeah. I'm not sure if I got the email. I've been overwhelmed with work.
Yeah, that's fine. So Saturday morning, we're fine, but the second page of this is the First Friday event, which is the next week, and I do need names for that, so I'm going to pass the sheet around. Dave Carey will be around Saturday morning because he's got the trees.
Mhm.
And I assume that he'll also be showing up at the First Friday event early with the trees. But I will confirm that with him. So if you, I'm going to start with Shannon, and then you can pass it back up here. I'm concerned with the Friday event. That's page 2 of that.
Okay.
We have handouts. We have bags for the trees. We found the banner.
Oh, where was the banner?
Dave Carey had it. Yeah. We have, I think, kids' activities covered. And I don't think there's anything else unless
Do we know where we're going to be at?
we'll be in the gym, but I'm not
No, I
sure.
mean,
First
First
Friday.
Oh, First Friday.
I'm supposed to get an email from Main Street like the first 2 or 3 days of May, so we won't know until then where the actual booth will be.
Oh, I'm already on here. And-
I believe the 2 blocks that are closed are
Yeah,
Sandusky
it's
from
north of. yeah.
William to Central. Winter Street remains open, but they're doing the Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, I believe is the event.
It's
So
7.
that'll be. But once we find that out, then I'll make sure that we have table and stuff there for you.
What about the table for Saturday? Will the
They're
what?
supposed to supply
Supply
them.
that? Okay.
That was the email that Roger sent to me.
Yeah, okay. So Saturday will really be a pretty short day. Probably an
Right.
hour and a half for each shift, and then the First Friday will be a little bit longer.
And I can do the whole First Friday if you don't have enough people.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I won't be able to do the table.
I don't have to.
Yeah.
You won't have to do that. Okay, any other questions about the Arbor Day event or First Friday event?
The Arbor Day event is 9:30 to 11:30?
I made a mistake on the original email. I put 8 o'clock, but it starts at 9:30.
Okay.
I've got it correct on that sheet now, not the one that I emailed, but
I
I,
have it as 8.
yeah, it's, you don't need to be there till 9.
9 o'clock, that's good. That's good. Okay, so it sounds like we have that pretty well under control in terms of everything except the sign-up sheet, which is going around right now anyway. So, does anybody have any other points about that? Looks like we're good.
Well, I do.
Yeah.
According to the minutes, and at the last meeting, we talked about a pamphlet, a brochure.
Mhm.
So I wanted to bring that, put that back on the table. Jim Buck produced he looked at the original brochure that we have. I think we still have,
I do.
Yeah,
I found them.
Good, excellent. But Jim looked at that brochure and cut it down about 50%. And so here is a summary of what he produced.
Thanks, Jim.
And
Actually, I think Tom did that work there, so he summarized it.
no, that's actually your summary, and I
Oh,
think he focused on the essentials. The original brochure had a lot of details, lots of verbiage, and maybe too much, for ordinary people. And so he cut it down to the essentials. And I think what Jim suggested at the last meeting was a half letter size piece of paper, front and back. Is that correct?
Similar, yeah, something
Not a
like
folded
that.
brochure,
Yeah.
something like front and back. And so I can reformat that. If you're happy, it is the original language, simply in a condensed form. No new information has been added. So this has already essentially been approved by city staff, but we should probably resubmit it to them for another look. But if the Shade Tree Commission approves, I can reformat it a little bit, put it on a half letter sheet front and back, and we can use that to disseminate at Healthy Kids Day, First Friday, and eventually also at the Now Watershed Festival. So it's totally up to you. So I didn't want to drop the ball. I simply wanted to lay it back on the table here.
Yeah, this is concise and easy to read.
Well, I had another suggestion. I don't know if this would go over or not, but on Tom's original thing, with some of those ideas that he had in there, some of the comments he made, I was just wondering if this apparently comes out only every 3 months, but on this progress report that Lee Yoakum puts out, like, can the tree commission have a little space there, like, that they could make some comments on, like, progress report on where trees are being
You
planted?
just have to ask Lee, because I don't know where he gathers his information from, if he has a set format that he uses. We just have to ask Lee.
Okay,
Lee's the one that produces that, like you said.
okay.
I think it's a wonderful idea. The newsletter is a new project by the city, and only one issue has come out now.
Right.
And it's a quarterly project. And so space may be limited, but I think it's a good idea to communicate, what we are doing to the public a little bit. The water bill would be way too small, and the city has more important things to put information to share with the public than, where trees are being pruned. But the newsletter, I think is a good idea.
If you want
wanna
to
check
send,
that out, Jim?
Yeah.
if you want to send some type of a proposal, and even if you want to send this to me, then I can get it to Lee and ask him about that.
Okay. What did you just pick up? This?
Yes.
This.
Oh, okay. All right. So okay, because he needs to approve this? Okay.
And you're looking at basically a folded sheet, front and back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what Jim suggested, and it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Nothing, elaborate. This brochure is too long. If you would stand there and read it in its entirety, you would be standing there for 10 minutes. So,
Well, I can give
short
him,
and succinct is probably better.
I can give Lee this if you're all comfortable with asking him about that.
Mhm.
Don't know if we'll get an answer for this Saturday, but, and then if you just send me an email to remind me to ask him about the newsletter,
Okay.
then I can forward that to him and see what his thoughts are on that.
So is it still the intention to go ahead and distribute the green flyers, the green trifolds that we have left over from last year, or do you want?
But that's subject to the commission. We do have a bunch of old copies. We could simply recycle them and replace them with a new, shorter pamphlet. Or we could use the old brochures until we run out. It's up to the commission.
Well, actually, it's going to be up to Lee if he okays the copy. And whether he can okay it before Saturday, that's the
I'm thinking,
$50,000 question.
yeah, I'm thinking you're probably going to want to use the green flyers for this Saturday.
Yeah.
And possibly we could get this okayed
For
and
First
produced
Friday.
for First Friday.
Sounds good. Everyone okay with that?
Sure.
We don't need to vote on this? Okay.
No, I think the original comment when we did the flyers was that you'd use those until they're used up, so.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any problem with distributing those on Saturday.
That could be a while. It could be another year, so.
Well, if we get the new ones, then all bets are off on that.
Yeah.
And one final comment, I'm not aware of any other city commission or board or committee that produces its own little pamphlet or brochure. So we are unique in that respect. I think the dog park committee had a little flyer, for fundraising purposes. But we are unique, in that respect. So we are cutting edge.
Absolutely. Well put.
Jim, can you change that 14,000 to sit over 16,000?
Oh, 16,000.
I don't have an accurate
Street and
amount,
park
it's
trees.
probably closer to 17 to 18,000.
Okay.
Jim, did you have the Word version of this or just Tom?
No, my Word version is I sent out to everybody a few weeks ago,
Okay,
but
so
it wouldn't be, his is, mine
This is
was
yours?
broken in two
I have
pages.
the WordPerfect version,
Can you-
Microsoft Word version.
can you change that?
Absolutely. I
And
will
then,
already-
and then email it to me so that I've
Yes.
got it for Lee?
Sounds good. I
Thank
will
you.
do that. And I have your email, yes, in L. Matthews.
Yeah, thanks for working on this, you guys. It's definitely an improvement. Okay, great. So are we ready for item number 6, the arborist report? Ready to go, Doug?
I'm ready. It was kind of a light month on maintenance. It pulled into a little bit of, it's a really busy time for the Parks Department. So got pulled in to help them out with some issues that were going on. We did remove 4 trees that were dead or dying or had lost large limbs in them, so it made more sense to take them down. 16 trees were pruned for clearance and sign issues. Most of those were in response to CSR reports of them. We did order 12 trees from Acorn Farms for the spring cost share plantings and holdovers from 2015 fall plantings. There is only one cost share tree for the spring, and decided to go ahead and plant that since it's going to be an oak. So I didn't want to wait till fall to plant that. Trees should be, well, the Arbor Day tree obviously will be picked up before Friday. But all the other trees will be picked up and hopefully planted next week. Well, of course, the ongoing project to shape trees for clearances, that'll continue throughout the year. I'm told that we will be going back into the streets pretty hard here shortly, once we get through our busy time. We assisted the watershed coordinator, Kristen Piper, with the abatement of some honeysuckle down at the canoe launch site, Cherry Street. Paul and some other volunteers came down and helped with that. What turned into what I thought was just clearing a path, 5-foot wide path, and then some other honeysuckle abatement turned into let's rip the whole woods out. I think you can go down, you can definitely tell if you look at the area that was worked in, compare that to the other rest of the woods, you can see just how much honeysuckle was in that area.
You can see it from 23
Yeah,
too.
it's kind of amazing how you have you have all these older trees. They're not old growth trees, but you have older trees and it's bare ground underneath of them now from all the honeysuckle. that came
Right.
out, so.
So the area that you worked, is that where it looks like a new parking lot's going in?
Yep, there's a parking
Okay.
lot.
So what's the spot over closer to the river on the walking trail? Looks like it might be a boardwalk or some,
Over at the YMCA?
no. At Mingo. Are
At
we talking about
Mingo?
Mingo?
No, this was at Cherry
Cherry
Street.
Oh, that's right.
Mingo,
Okay.
they're putting a canoe livery in there also.
Okay, and that's where the parking lot area.
That's the
It
parking
looks like a
lot,
parking lot.
yeah.
Okay, then along the walking trail toward the river at Mingo, is there going to be a deck or something that juts out over the water?
Not that I know of.
There's a lot of, like, the big, I don't know, 6x6s that look like they're gonna go down.
My understanding is they're putting in 2 canoe launches at Mingo Park. One goes from Main Road to Mingo Park
Yeah.
to exit, and then there's another one on the south side of Mingo Park, near the dumpster area,
Right.
where you would put in your boat and then go
Right.
downstream
Right,
to
right.
Cherry Street and beyond. So 2 launch, boat decks, on
Okay,
at Mingo.
well, there's something else happening along the river on the walking path there, so, I don't-
It's probably putting in like the dock.
yeah,
just
deck to walk out over, yeah.
I had marked 206 trees for spring developer tree plantings for this spring that will be going in this year. Hope they should all actually go in this spring. Compiled species list and locations forwarded to the builders responsible for the plantings. Responded to 15 tree-related CSRs. One other thing didn't make this because we just finished it up today, actually. Through Kristen Piper and Green Columbus, we were able to secure 150 bare root seedlings, 30 swamp white oaks, 30 sugar maple, 30 black tupelo, 30 Norway spruce, and 30 blue spruce. And in conjunction with using it with our greenhouse, we've potted those up into some pots, and we're kind of moving forward with starting our own little bit of a nursery, tree nursery.
What size pots are those in?
They're in between. The spruce are only in 1 gallon pots, and the swamp white oaks and the sugar maples are in 3 to 5 gallon pots, which it was what we had available.
Right.
It wasn't.
Right.
So for a start, what we'll do with these trees, if all goes well, which my expectation is low on going well, we'll use these in the parks in about 3 or 4 years to start putting in some of the parks as replacement trees. If something should exceed my expectations and we do really well with this, I could foresee us using these as street trees in 10 years.
You want to bump them up to like 5 or 10 gallon in
15
a year,
gallon.
fit to 15? Okay.
Before we put them on streets, they would need to be 15 gallon size trees.
So we bump them up once or twice?
Probably just once.
Okay.
To put them in parks, to put them in the,
Okay.
if we continue it and do streets, we'll do more. The other issue is, this might be something that we do every year is we'll get a new supply and start a new supply
That's cool.
of trees. They're free, so
Wow. That's
why not take advantage of the
Yeah.
situation? We have a brand new greenhouse facility, and we need to use it a little bit more.
Where, can I come out and look at that?
Yeah, field trip, field trip.
It's at the Public Works Building
Okay.
out at 440 East William.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe we should schedule a time or something. Maybe we'll have a field trip meeting or something like that. I don't.
Yeah, just sometime. Be kind of cool to see, but thanks.
That's all I have.
Okay. Any questions for Doug?
I have one question, and maybe I should bring it up under member comments, but it's a question for the arborist. In my neighborhood, I won't provide a specific address or anything, but there is at least one homeowner, and I've seen it elsewhere in the city, where homeowners, maybe because they are too impatient, are planting their own street trees. Tiny calibers, less than 1 inch, beautiful job, but it clearly done by an amateur, and not the standard size trees that we plant. I applaud the initiative, but I was wondering, is that legal? Do we frown upon that?
Well,
I don't think we should probably stop it, but I was wondering about the legal status of such an initiative.
Well, we're not going to discourage it. What we're going to encourage is for them to follow the rules and call the city so that we know what tree is being planted. I'm not so worried about the caliper size. I don't, whips aren't the greatest, but I also understand people want to plant a tree, and we want to encourage that as much as we can. It's hard to get through the city. It's also going to be harder for me to tell someone you can't plant that tree. So I guess encouragement for them to use the resources available for, at least I know what kind of tree they planted and take advantage and offer them our cost share program. For $125, I don't know what their time is worth if they wanted to go plant the tree, or what that tree even cost them if they bought it at Oakland Nursery. I'm sure it was $40 or $50. It's an advantage to use the cost share program. So again, just through education of them. Now, if I do see it and it is a wrong species, say they plant a willow tree or or a cottonwood tree or, something like that, then obviously we'd have to move forward and tell them they have to remove it. Had a situation where a resident had seen an accident happen in front of his home and the tree was wiped out. Didn't know he was supposed to call the city, that it was a hit and run. The tree was totally destroyed and he thought he was doing a good deed by removing the tree. And then he called the city and wanted to know when his new tree would be arriving. And we're like, well, we don't know anything about this tree. Did you just remove it or what happened with it? So, it's hard to be everywhere at one time to see things like that, but that would be, I'm not going to say you can't plant a tree if you want to, just because of the caliper size. Now, we do require developers to plant 1 3/4 inch tree, and we try to hold ourselves to that standard too also. That's why we don't go anything below a 15-gallon tree. Does that answer your
Yes,
question?
thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so next item number 7, staff comments. There's no staff comments.
My report's in there, it was the month before, so it would have been for March. So once again, it was a slow month for Doug, so not much on it.
Okay. Member comments? Do we have member comments?
I'll comment. Shannon and I went to the Tree City USA event this past week in Musterville. Yeah. And I was very happy to be there. I was just like, oh, see what this is all about. But it was a good time. Took away a couple of tips that sort of file away in the back of my mind. Bell Fountain, who's one of them, I think they've been Tree City for a long time. I don't know if they're one of the originals, but they have a tree stewardship program in their city, they mentioned. So we might be, as we move along on that thought, it might be worthwhile to get in touch with them and see what they do. And then there was another city that talked about having I don't know what they called it, maybe an urban forestry workshop, just sort of open to anybody who wanted to come in the city. And they talked about pruning and caring for trees and that kind of thing. So just sort of a little educational thing. And that sort of struck me as something we could do either on a First Friday or for the Healthy Kids next year. Both of them seem like good ideas and something that we have the staff to do. We as volunteers could probably do it pretty easy.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Shannon, do
I
you
thought it
have
was fabulous. It was just really nice to see all of the cities and how proud they were to be, part of Tree City USA. And it's only been 40 years, and Delaware's been involved 38.
30, yeah, 35.
Yeah, that's just phenomenal. So I was
Yeah.
just glad to be a part of it. I'd like to know. They had some local children do pictures for Arbor Day, and they voted on it. I don't know who won. Did you ever find out what kid won? Okay.
That's cool.
And the food was good.
And she won a door prize too.
I did. I won the table this night.
What a great day.
It wasn't bad.
That's great. Well,
I have a question for Susan then. At one point, Delaware was talking about possibly hosting
I'm glad you said that.
the event. So my question is, how many people were there? And do you think a city of the size of Delaware could possibly logistically accommodate that many people? Do we have the staff and the man and woman power to do that? Or is it beyond our scope?
I don't think it's beyond our scope. I went into the event thinking, okay, I'm going to scope this out. How many people are here and what kind of food do they serve? There was probably, I'm guessing 100 people in the room, maybe a few more, no more than 120. And it would take a room the size of one of the Hamilton Williams or a gymnasium, either at the Y or the Mingo facility. That wouldn't be as nice as the room we were in, but that would be the size that we would need. We'd have to have it catered. But more importantly, they have the next 3 years booked already. And we were sort of thinking, 17 or 18, but they're already, through 18, I think they're set. So
Okay,
if we
that's
wanted
what's
to do it, we're talking about even 3 years out, and
Mhm.
it's hard to make a commitment that far away.
Yeah.
I
What was
think.
the facility that they had it in?
It was at the Westerville Rec Center, which is a really big, it's recreation at one end, and then the far south end, they have sort of like banquet. I don't know if it's banquet, but big meet, like you can have a wedding reception there.
There was a
Something like
kitchen
that.
attached. to
There was
the
a
room we
kitchen,
were in.
right.
Okay.
It was nice. They had speakers,
Mhm.
presenters. It's nice. Local flair and more.
If somebody said to me, Delaware's going to do this in 2018, I wouldn't be like running and hiding. It is something we could do. We just have to,
We could definitely get the speakers because we've got the Forest Service Research Station, maybe get some of those people presenting. Got Ohio Wesleyan Botany Department, possibly could present. Master Gardeners could present. So I think we'd have the speakers covered.
The one thing that I have noticed in the Shade or Tree City USA's that I've gone to since being here is that they will have the field speakers that come in, but then they also will find somebody that would know a lot, like Frank Carson would be a great guy to come in and speak
Yeah.
about the city of Delaware and its history. Things like that.
right, yeah.
They always have at least one kind of non-green thing to
Yeah.
discuss.
Okay.
Kind of promote their city a little bit.
Yeah. Okay,
It's definitely something we should not rule out.
Right.
We should be open. If we're ever being asked again, would the city of Delaware consider hosting such an event? We should seriously, take it into
the
consideration.
problem is that they're working always 3 years in advance.
Yeah.
And then when you say, will we commit for 2012, or not 2012, 2020?
Yes, you will.
But then it's like, oh, we can't commit that far out. It's that's an issue too. Who's going to be, you're committing for someone else to do the work,
right,
I
right.
think, at that point, but.
Well, we can just play it by ear and be open, like Tom said. And now I'm glad that we have more information about it. So thanks for going and telling us about it. I have a member comment to make. I was talking to Joe DiGenova last night, and he wanted me to remind us that not to forget about his tree for the Veterans Memorial planting. Is that in the fall?
I thought it was in the fall, but
Does anybody remember?
This Memorial Day weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, are
Yeah,
you talking
but
about
the
Veterans
plaza
Plaza?
dedication
Yeah.
is in the
The
spring.
plaza at the Y?
I think he was talking about the veterans.
He's probably talking about the new Veterans Plaza.
Is that
It's
for
between the
Memorial?
Y- Yes,
That's-
it's
That's
Yeah,
for
that's
Memorial.
on the 30th.
the
of May.
30th of May.
Okay, so he wanted an oak tree for that event. And he said, please bring this up with the Shade Tree Commission. So Doug, are you the person to get that for him, or, I don't know, I'm the messenger here.
Yeah, I didn't know anything was formally decided on whether or not we were doing a dedication. Why you're looking at me.
well, I'm fuzzy too, because you and I sort of looked at each other, he brought
Right.
it up to me, and I'm like, oh.
Well, he came up to me before the meeting started and said, oh, remember about my oak tree? And I was like, gosh, I don't really remember, but I didn't say that.
See, and I'm thinking the trees are already, the landscaping is already done out there. I'm serious. From what I recall seeing when I was out there for a meeting just last week or 2 weeks ago, I was thinking that the trees were in because they were laying bricks and everything. We'll have to check.
Follow up on it, check with Joe, see what his recollection is.
Let me get with Stacy also. And discuss
Jackie.
this. Jackie.
It might be in our if it's not in the written minutes, it might be in the recorded
recording.
minutes.
I know that last year at one point we were talking about doing the Arbor Day tree. I know
Right.
that Dave Carey, I think, and I wish he was here because I'm sure he would remember, he was the one that motioned to do a dedication tree for Joe. But I thought Joe put the kibosh on it when he said, well, no, I don't want to do that. So I don't know if anything ever moved forward from there. I wasn't aware that we were doing a dedication tree this year for Arbor Day or for the tree memorial.
Maybe Dave would remember.
I would remember, we've never discussed it as a
I
shade
don't remember it
commission.
either. I don't remember. So, well,
We'll do some checking.
Yeah.
okay, thank you, because that's good, get that taken care of.
Can I make one more comment?
Mhm.
On behalf of the Shade Tree Commission, I would like to thank, let the minutes reflect that the Shade Tree Commission is thanking Chairperson Paul Olin and Vice Chair Susan Wright for presenting the annual report at last night's City Council meeting. They did a good job, and there were
Thank
some
you.
follow-up questions, and so I appreciate that.
Thank you, you're welcome. Okay. All right, any other member comments then? Joe? Okay, time for plan reviews.
Before y'all move up there, we got one more in today. It's Columbia Gas, and I believe it's at the intersection of Pittsburgh and Section Line, South Section Line. And we have that, so you'll have an E to
Okay,
consider as well.
thank you.
It's not really, so I think it's just the pipes.
Midwest Acoustic Fiber, Doug?
That's the first one, yes.
Okay.
Oh, wonderful, yes.
You can see the speakers that they.
Good. We'll make a copy and return the original to you.
Midwest Acoustic Fiber is basically expanding their driveway towards Pittsburgh Drive. Currently, this is the current layout of their parking lot in asphalt. They have existing trees. I'm sorry, I don't know what those trees are. I didn't go out and look at it actually.
This is the new line.
This is the new line. They're planning on planting 10 October Glories. None of it is on the right of way. So again, this would just be a suggestion. Plan. They did have 4 Cleveland Select pears. My suggestion would be, if they want to make sure they still have something that's flowering and looking nice, that they change it to Adirondacks and Turian or Marley crab apples, as they all are similar to the same growth habit as the pear. So that would be my, and I just said, as pears are contributing to the advance of invasive Gallery pear species of the tree. So that would be my suggestion. I know that as a city, I don't plant Gallery pear anymore, or I don't plant any Aristocrat, Cleveland Select, certainly not Bradford pear, unless it's already a street entirely full of pear, which if it just makes sense to put it back in. So trying to encourage other people not to use it in their landscapes.
That's pretty simple and straightforward then.
It's just 4 on the corners of the new parking lot area. They're also doing an addition onto the building.
Yeah, I'd mix it up more, but it's their, 10 trees, that's not going too far for the same species and the same variety.
Yeah, this is the front of the building with Pittsburgh Drive, and this is their side parking lot. So they're just expanding into their field a little bit more.
Yeah, if it were like 20 of the same, then it might be worth changing, but I think it's fine.
If there were sidewalks here, I'd probably tell you I would change it to
Yeah.
a different type of maple tree, but
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
You get the,
Doug, are you approving it with your suggestions?
Yes.
sorry.
Susan Burkett.
I can never,
The arborist suggestions.
I try to get that off, it's like it all comes apart, so I don't.
What happened, you break it?
1 month to the next, I'll do it.
It's a tough job.
Uh-huh.
Just call it Susan did to it, I didn't want to just yank on it.
Yeah.
It's already dated.
Yes, it is. It was. Now, I don't know when I pulled the lid off if I changed it. Yep, April 26th.
Work at, Stoltz, whatever, in Floyd with Matt Simpson.
Well, no, actually, thereafter.
Okay, because he used to be a member.
Yeah.
Good person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speedway?
Speedway is the next one. This is actually just more of the X's are trees that came out and were done through their tree survey.
They're all piled up right around here.
Yeah.
By the way.
So they removed 1,548 caliper inches. And I'm not sure, or that's what they're replacing, plus they're adding 376 additional inches.
So the total is the sum of
18,
these two.
yeah, around 1,900.
1,900.
I don't, and again, all of it's not in the right of way. The only issue that I had, and I talked to Dave Eflin about this a little bit, was that all they were using for two things. They were using white spruce only for their evergreen, and they also wanted to use black cherry as an ornamental. I don't know if you're
Spring
familiar.
black cherry.
Well, the serotina.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's just the.
So I don't know if you are all familiar, but the cherry around here, at least is really susceptible to the fungus. So the suggestion I would make is change the black cherry to spring snow or Donald Wyman crabapple, which are scab resistant and give them the same effect that they want with the blooms in the springtime, and might give them a little bit more of the berries off of them, the actual apple, the fruit. And then change the white spruce out to an equal combination of Norway blue and Black Hills spruce.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do white pine, as this is going to be a little bit of an elevated mound, and as thin as as shallow rooted as the white pine is, I'd be.
Yeah, dry out.
Well, that
But
might
isn't
be.
it gonna, I mean, northwest wind's gonna roll right through there and desiccate those, being up on that mountain, like, are they really gonna be a windbreak?
Well, this is all woods
Oh,
in through
that
here
is?
too. Yeah, there's all
Oh.
woods to the west of it. So
Okay, so that wouldn't be.
yeah, until
Until the next development.
Well, there you go.
There'd probably be some salt issues with white pine also, I would think. They don't like salt either.
so that was just. And then these are all the trees that they've taken out. And these are ones that will be remaining. And they actually went through, made a nice list.
So this is most of the replacement calipers are in here?
Yes,
Okay.
and down through.
And some areas over here.
So they logged all these trees?
No, these are all existing.
That's
The
what
X's are,
they
Only the
put
ones
this
that
list
are,
together?
oh, yes, only the ones that are
Nice.
Xed are the ones they actually took out.
That part will be reserved for permanent conservation. And so this part too.
Who's holding the easement?
I don't know that answer. I would assume it's
Preservation Parks.
Is this gonna be the bike trail? Is that what you're talking about?
Them, you're supposed to say them.
Well,
Is this the bike trail? Do you know that?
I don't know that either.
We wanted to build a bike trail in the back. This could be the one. I don't think it's gonna be outside. That has to be the one.
yeah, I'm real surprised that anyone would put just straight Prudus Arachna on ornament, as an ornament. Because they have a tough time around here anyway compared to places like Pennsylvania or upstate New York, where they're really a major part of the forest canopy. And around here, they have a lot of problems with borers and fungal disease. So I'm all for your recommendation on that.
With your suggestions, Doug?
Yes.
Washington Enterprises?
Washington, yes. Washington Auto Parts. This is on the corner of Old Tangi Avenue and South Sandusky Street. There's an existing CarQuest here right now, a warehouse space, and then there's a repair shop in this area. The house is going to remain behind it. However, they're going to remove the repair shop area and expand the existing warehouse. I have no issue with the Imperial Honey Locust that they want to plant along the roadway along TNG Avenue. However, they were planning on planting maples on the front, these two dots, and there are a lot of power lines overhead. So I just would make the suggestion that they just change those out to some the American hornbeam and stuff. And I just didn't want to do tree lilac. We use a lot of tree lilac there. So use something else that we've approved said is okay.
The upright form on this would be better for vision.
Vision there also, because you're coming up over top of the hill right here.
Yeah.
So you don't want anything big and bulky.
So that's considered a median?
That's small.
That's small?
Yeah, narrow, columnar. So, yeah, that looks good.
Everybody okay?
Oh, yeah.
See, I guess that is easy to do. Approved
So
with recommended change.
How did the trees end up, isn't this where the senior housing is? And
Yes.
we were having there was an issue.
No, this is,
Is there another block?
is it the Vineyard Church is here, and this is kind
Oh,
of
okay,
undeveloped
yeah,
gravel
yeah,
right
you're right.
through there. It's one block away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're thinking about the next.
Yeah,
Wiser,
yeah,
okay.
right.
That's the next one, yeah.
Now, when we're done, I'll fill you in on the wiser. What's going on?
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to know that.
Well, there was a problem when the trees first went in, there was a lot of mortality, so it's real.
Millbrook,
seed
Doug,
there.
section 2?
Millbrook, section 2.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the extension off of Cobblestone. They actually, it's nice to see the developers are picking up on our diversification, because I did no diversification on this. They did it all themselves. The only thing I needed to do was move trees from off the corners for the triangle line of sights and just move them to other locations, which will be a field adjustment when I'm actually laying out the trees on the streets. So
that means we can approve this as is.
as is.
Okay.
Well, with changes.
The
Yeah.
corners, yeah.
With changes at corners. Imperial High Locust, Homestead Elms, Okova, Shingle Oak, Ginkgo.
Does anybody know what's happened to the oldest Zelkova in town, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think are in front of the National Guard there on Pennsylvania. and they're looking really bad. Now, I was under the impression that they had hardiness issues in this zone. What do you think? Do you know what happened to them?
I don't know what's happened to them.
We had two really bad winters, not this past winter, but the previous two winters were really bad. And I remember we lost a bunch of Zelkova at Acorn back, we lost every Zelkova at Acorn in, I think it was 90. So I don't know, I was just.
I can take a look at it.
Pennsylvania Avenue is bad for trees, let's just face it.
Pennsylvania.
It is cursed.
Okay, maybe that's it. I believe in stuff.
So,
This one is the new one that you've not had a chance to look at, but it's very simple. It's way out west off of Pittsburgh at South Section Line Road. I believe all they're doing is putting in, these will be pipe and transfer stations. No building going in here, just a fence around pipes. And so they're trying to create a little bit of a screening effect with using spruce trees. Colorado blue spruce.
That's it?
That's it.
18 of them.
18 total.
this is so boring.
Well, see, Colorado blue spruce have taken a hit. I know so many of them are looking bad.
A lot of them have got infected with the needle cast.
Is that what it is?
Mhm. And it's not just hitting just the blue, it's also in the Norways and, it's.
Is that what's causing that? Is that, what kind of organism is needle cast?
It's a fungus, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I have to look that up for sure.
Because the last couple of years, the Colorado blue spruce have been real bad. But you're right, come to think that there are some Norways that are looking bad too. Particularly bad in Colorado blue spruce, but I don't know, I guess.
Doug, those probably are not in a right of way either, are they?
No, they are not. This is a suggestion, sorry.
True.
We can always make the suggestion to, that you want to do, mix it up.
Evergreen
Or mix up the Norway and the Colorado. And again, I don't know if this is going to be a mounted area. I haven't had a chance to look at the elevations on it. I would assume there will be some mounting on it. There's nothing to the west but a rock quarry, so the winds are going to come barreling across there. So white pines would probably be out as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Well, we could approve it with a suggestion to diversify. Is that?
That sounds reasonable. One fungus could wipe them all out.
Right.
The investment would be lost.
Yeah.
Mixing them up, maybe one species here, another species there.
Yeah, and also, spruce spider mite, where you get into a monoculture like that. Terrible. But at any rate, yeah.
Well, the effect though is they want screening. You're not going to put arborvitae out here.
Yeah.
You're not going to put deciduous trees. You're not going to put dawn redwoods or anything like that. So you kind of and I wouldn't do white pine for the fact that they're not going to be standing up after 20 years. So
Yeah.
I really, spruce is kind of their only option in here for a while.
All right, that's fine.
So they could split this up though. They'd all don't have to be colored. We could do the same thing like we suggested with Speedway, that they split them on
Yeah.
Colorado blue. If you want to do some Black Hills, I just wouldn't do the white spruce.
Are Serbian spruce doing well in Ohio now? Have they stood the test of time? Do you know?
They don't. It's all how they're taken care of. It really is.
Well, let's just suggest that they diversify.
I think it's funny they put a deciduous tree though, and all this is spruce trees. It's not really the right detail for that. But
It's a stock detail.
Did they look at the site distance? Is that why that angle's like that?
Oh, I would assume, yeah, I'm sure that's why with the triangle, see traffic coming at 55 miles an hour.
You can go fast on section
Yeah.
9, yeah.
No, it's a giant speed trap, because it's only 35. I've seen multiple people pulled over on that road. I've been guilty of speeding myself. Well, yeah, because it's just.
All right, Doug, you're approving with the suggestion to diversify, no white pines.
No white lines, yes. That's it.
One of these days, it's gonna fall over. I'm still living to see it.
I don't know. These things that look like they're gonna fall over, just
I think.
never seem to, you
Yeah,
know?
it's feeling real bad.
That's all.
That- well, I would.
George, you didn't ride tonight, did you?
No, I did not, because it was supposed to be pouring out rain,
Okay, yeah.
and I have new tires.
Real quick question.
Yeah.
Before we adjourn.
Mhm.
I got on the website, and on the tree commission website, for some reason you aren't on there for the people that's on the committee. And second, isn't there someone, I understand that there's an open space on the tree
Yes.
commission?
Yep, there
Who is
is.
that? Who is,
Brenda Hendricks, I believe, has been,
okay,
She's
Right,
been
we
dismissed.
moved.
okay.
Yeah, so, oh yeah, that would've been a good thing to bring up in member comments, that we do have a vacancy, so if you know anyone that would be a good candidate, encourage them to apply.
Doug, did you quickly want to tell us about Weiser Avenue and
Oh, yes.
the daylighting problem there?
What they found is our utilities department has gone back in there and done some shoring up of the creek bed and the walls. There was a lot of water coming down through the run that was deteriorating some sides. Originally, they tried to not use any kind of riprap stone in the bottom of that to try to keep it as natural as possible. Unfortunately, because of the way it was eroding the banks, they have put some riprap, large stone in the bottom of the creek and up on the sides where it was the worst, to try to help retain that hillside a little better than what was going on. They are also planning on doing some more live staking in there to try to get. I did talk to Kristen Piper that and also instead of trying to plant 1 3/4, 2-inch trees on that hillside, that they'd be better off to plant the seedlings. Nothing's going to go in there to mow them down, so they would stand a better chance going with the bare root seedlings in there instead of trying to plant trees. So that's the course that they were going to do. It looked, pretty good. They were having some where the erosion was happening was causing some sidewalk issues up on top, as how it was noticed. So they went back in and re-engineered it and put more stone down through there to kind of keep it back.
Makes sense.
Doug, does the board know that Kristen Piper resigned?
Kristen Piper resigned. She is gone as of last Friday, was her last day.
But she is on a supplemental contract to help out with the Now watershed. That's what she told me anyway.
That's very possible. I just know
She's
that-
still going to be around to do the Now.
Yeah, she's now with I think the Evans development down.
Evans
south.
Farm.
Evans Farm.
Yeah. So when we work on the Now Festival, I'm pretty sure we'll still be working with Kristen on that. That's what she told me.
That is correct, yeah. And I'm sure George can verify that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.